We're going to talk about Tiff today, this afternoon, this morning. Whatever, right? Let's get into it. Thanks for joining. So, big meeting last night. Tiff had a big meeting, and the super mayor, Tiffany Henyard, right? People get upset. Don't call her Tiff. I'm like, I don't know. How about Tahoe Tiff without the Tahoes? We're going to talk about that. They're going to take away 3 of those Tahoes because they're costing the village like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's just absolutely wild. All right. So today, you know what we're going to start off with? Let's go with this Facebook page. Let's see if I get my split screen up there. Yeah, can you guys see that? I don't know. Let's go here. Tiffany Henyard, yesterday morning. Sorry, Henry. Congratulations, President Trump. You are now the 47th president. This is what she posted on her Facebook. This is what she's holding out. After she went to basically say, you guys all got to go out and vote. Kamala Harris. That's your woman. Kamala Harris. You got to vote for her. Congratulations, President Trump. You are now the 47th president, and he's probably aware. You have made history by coming back and winning the president of the United States. This is the most kiss-ass post I have seen after what she did last week. What a big comeback. Now let's work together. What? I mean, what a spin. What a spin. To all my supporters, let's work together and put our differences aside. I think that's what the village of Dolton is trying to do. And yet, Tiffany Henyard, you're so divisive that people are just looking at you going, what? Trump is now our president, and we must find a common ground to reach across the aisle and focus on next steps. President Trump, as the supervisor of Thornton Township and mayor of Dolton, I would like to sit down with you and talk about helping the people throughout Thornton Township. I think he's going to look at a couple of videos. Maybe number 47 even looks at a video from, News from Reasonable People. We've got some big views on some of these Tiffany Henyard videos. Maybe he looks through a couple and he goes, I'm not sure if affiliation with Tiffany Henyard is probably the best thing at the outset of my second 4-year term. That may not be a good idea. Tiffany goes on to say, I have a lot of great ideas. Okay. All right. And believe we can work together for the greater good. With that being said, let's make America great again. She honestly said that. With that being said, let's make America great again. I also sent you a message. Check your inbox. All right. I stand with Tiff. Hashtag Tiffany Henyard. Hashtag stay focused. Never give up. Focus on what matters. Everybody says a lot of really negative things about Tiffany Henyard. She's got a big old set of brass, you-know-what. We're not going to get crass here. This is a family show. But it's kind of like when Trump talks about Putin and Putin just being, president of Russia, just being an egomaniac. Trump is talking about, all right, here's the only good thing I can say. And, the guy just does his own thing. Tiffany Henyard does her own thing, and she says some stuff that you're like, wow. That takes a lot of gumption to throw that out there. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's positive. I'm not saying it's constructive, but she's got a big old set of you-know-what. She just does. I don't know where she hides them because her pants are tight. All right, let's get into it. Pantsuit, I guess. I don't really know. Just like Trump, Henyard predicts landslide mayoral victory as trustees reject police chief pick during village board meeting. So they had a meeting last night. It went like 3 hours. I mean, it was a long meeting. And they actually had all the board there, right? Very unusual. And they got some business done. But yeah. Let's try and find the video. We'll come back to this article, but let's go ahead. Let's watch some video here. Some interesting footage. And you know what? Before we do, super quick, want to give a big shout out to the content creators that I follow. Hannibal is Hungry here. I watch a lot of his stuff. That guy's doing work. The other ones are, this is This is Reality Check TV. He does a live feed from the meetings. The other one that I watch a lot of is Critical Smoker. These people, do some content creation that I'm not able to since they're there. And Nate the Lawyer is the other one. He's a big content guy. He's 500-something thousand, and I watch a lot of his stuff. So, those are people that I rely on. And so give credit where credit is due, right? Let's watch NBC. Let's make sure I got volume on for you here.
Of Dolton tonight, where Embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard is trying to get down to business.
And that includes spending issues and a controversial move to try to appoint a police chief. NBC5's Randy Gyllenhaal with our story tonight.
Well, for the first time in many weeks, Dolton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together, but not at Village Hall, here at the Park District due to concerns over safety and violations of the Open Meetings Act. Under the same roof, Dolton trustees gather for a board meeting, and 30 minutes late, Tiffany Henyard arrives to furious residents.
This is an embarrassment to Dolton.
For the first time in weeks, a quorum, which means the village can finally vote on crucial issues like paying bills with a nearly $3 million deficit, as residents confront the mayor who's facing an FBI investigation over spending.
You are a clown. We will continue to speak out against wrongdoing.
Why won't you step down?
Henyard tonight moving to hire a new controversial police chief, but that is facing a legal challenge. And today, the self-proclaimed super mayor says she sent this message to President-elect Donald Trump.
Trump did win, and congratulations again. This is me saying it publicly to our new president of the United States.
Inviting Trump to meet with her. Henyard's running for re-election next year. She'll face trustee Jason House, a critic who says small businesses in Dolton suffer under her leadership.
Dalton is the only community that in order to get a business license or a liquor license, you need an attorney.
Because guess what? Just like Trump, I'm going to come in on a landslide on both seats. Know that. Remember this moment. When I landslide, they come in for the victory like I always do.
Reporting in Dolton, Randy Gyllenhaal, NBC5 News.
Somebody said she's delusional. I mean, no kidding. That is just some absolute wild stuff, right? I mean, what is she talking about? Coming in on a landslide. Let's talk about that for a second. I don't know why this thing is just spinning out of control. But let's
Tonight,
go
a South Suburban man
here. Yeah. Sorry there, guy. Yeah. So let's go back to here. Tiffany Henyard with a landslide. Is that possible? So, I mean, let's just be reasonable. This is news for reasonable people, not delusional people, right? Although that would be a pretty funny news for delusional people. You could just read a whole bunch of stories that don't make any sense at all. Tiffany Henyard has a solid base of senior citizens and a handful of people who really, really like her. And they are basically people that she has given stuff to, right? You give something to somebody and they're like, hey, it's, one of those things where if you give people enough stuff, they're going to remember you because you got something. But that doesn't mean that she's doing a good job as the mayor. It doesn't mean that she's doing a good job as supervisor. It just means that she gave some of your own money back to these individuals who blindly follow her. I mean, it is just delusional. Delusional is the absolute, and when I say she's got a big old pair of what, she's, that's going to be streamed to basically the world because so many people are tuning into this stuff. She's like, I'm going to win in a landslide. I'm like, are you? Really? Okay. Well, mainstream media told us that Kamala Harris was the shoo-in and it was so close we wouldn't know for days. I didn't really believe them either, but I'll give anything a roll. We'll see. Okay. No, Tiffany Henyard, I don't think has a chance to win in a landslide. I don't think she has a chance to win. We're going to find out how, in what is it? Is it February or is it April when the elections in Dolton are for mayor? It's sometime in early 2025, right? Maybe somebody let me know in the live stream chat. The whole thing is just so crazy. A fiery village board meeting got underway in Dolton on Wednesday night, but not in the usual location. The meeting was held at Dolton Park District Building. Now, they have held the meetings there before, right? Because they've had all this jostling about, or upstairs, downstairs. The Illinois state attorney basically stating, hey, you guys got to have the Open Meeting Act regulations being followed, and you're not. So it was held in the district, Dolton Park District Building, which is maybe 0.7 miles away from Town Hall, right? I think so. Let me know in the live stream chat if you know, and I'll try and look over here. That is the first time Tiffany Henyard and her entire board of trustees had been in the same room for a whole meeting in months. That is how dysfunctional this has become, because Tiffany Henyard refuses to get on board with, hey, let's come together and figure this thing out and try and get, business taken care of. You're literally talking about just trying to operate the village on a super basic level, and that is simply not happening. Trustees voted down Henyard's pick for police chief. She had previously appointed Ronnie Burge Sr. without board approval, and a court blocked it. She appointed a new attorney for the village. She appointed a village administrator, and she appointed the new police chief. But the village took her to court and basically got a court ruling, an injunction, and a temporary restraining order on those three individuals from taking office. But these folks still ended up they were trying to show up for work, is my understanding. Even though trustees officially voted down the appointment, Burge will serve temporarily for a 30-day period. Is it Berg or Burge? Berg? I don't know. You know what I mean? Trustees also said the village is so low on funds that some departments can't even afford office supplies like printer paper. I heard that toner and printer paper were not available because they hadn't paid their office supplier. Yeah. I mean, no, we can't get you the good stuff. We can't get you the 8.5 by 11 that goes in your copy machine. And no, the legal paper is expensive. No, siree. You're not getting that 8.5 by 14 good stuff either. Toner for the machines. Oh, no. You owe. That's how bad it's gotten. That's what happens when you don't operate your village like a business and actually get people paid and vendors paid. Now, Tiffany Henyard is continually saying, oh, you don't want to handle business? Well, she doesn't handle business either. And there's been such a breakdown on how this village is operated that little things like vendors, like I'm going to call it, Office Depot for lack of a better word. Do they even exist anymore? I've not been into an Office Depot in years. Also, Staples here in Bellevue, it turned into a climbing gym. I don't know. I feel like all office stuff is just going away, right? But whomever they get their stuff from, they're like, you got to pay. No, we can't front you this stuff anymore. You guys are not a good debt. How about the Dolton Bank? The bank said, we're not dealing with you. We are cutting you off. And they gave them a 60-day notice? Hey, you need to take your money elsewhere. When does a bank do that? Horrific. When your bank tells you we don't want your money, and they're making money off of your money on interest, and they say, the Village of Dolton's got about $2 million a month that rolls through. So interest on that, whatever that is, they're making money on that, right? Anybody that puts about $24 million a year into a bank account, I'm not saying all that goes into their bank, but the vast majority probably goes into their general account, right? I mean, that's just how this operates. When they say, yeah, us dealing with you and your headaches is not worth it, to the point of, we want to sever the relationship. It's no longer worth it to us. That tells you everything you need to know. And then when you don't have enough liquid funds to afford copy paper and toner, that's a new low. It's just terrible, right? Trustees agreed to return 3 luxury SUVs leased for Henyard's use. Why do you need 3? I mean, those SUVs, those are big, right? Why do you need 3? I don't know. You've got your 4 cops. I mean, you got 2 people in the front, 3 people in the back. That's 5 people. Do you need 3 more, 2 more vehicles? I don't know. I mean, the whole thing to me is just beyond reason. So trustees agreed to return 3 of the SUVs, Tahoe Tiff without the Tahoe, which WGN investigates revealed cost residents more than $374,000. But Henyard vowed to veto the decision. Why would you veto that? You're bleeding out money. You don't have enough money for copy paper. And yet you're riding around with, over $250,000 in depreciating assets in the form of big ass SUVs. I mean, that is the epitome of just self-serving spending. Despite the high cost of SUVs, Henyard still called out a trustee who spent $619 on training. I was watching on Critical Smoker's feed her explain to herself, and she's sitting on the bench along with Tiffany Henyard. She's kind of at the far right. She's like, you want to talk about my $619? Let's talk about your whatever it was. And you can check that out. And all the individuals that I mentioned earlier, the YouTube creators, they've all got a feed. And I found the one that's most interesting to me is to hear the feed from Hannibal is Hungry, because he takes Critical Smoker's feed and he does a reaction video to it. And he's probably covered these events. He's probably covered Tiffany Henyard more than anybody. And that's why he's got 78,000 subscribers, and he will routinely pull 30, 40, 50,000 views, which ratio-wise is a massive ratio on anything Tiffany Henyard. So despite the high cost of the SUVs, Henyard's like, oh, no, but look at how much you're spending. You're spending $619 on training. Training is a legit expense. And then Tiffany Henyard, if she gets questioned, she goes, I can line item expense anything I want. Well, that's just not reasonable. It's kind of like, and also I wasn't able to find, but the individual who was an employee of the village of Dolton who went on the Vegas trip and something happened. I mean, consensual sex, non-consensual sex with Uncle Drew, Andrew, one of the, Andrew Holmes. She basically called him out in last night's meeting, and I guess it was really awkward. I could not find that segment because it was a really long meeting, and I tried skipping through and finding, the good stuff for you, but I wasn't able to find that. But I understand that was a really, really awkward kind of, hey, that happened to me, and you're ignoring it. And Andrew Holmes basically came out and said, during public comment, the former Henyard aide who accused trustee Andrew Holmes of an alleged sexual assault on a taxpayer-funded trip to Vegas. Don't go on business to Vegas, because it's just, yeah. Stood at the podium and addressed him publicly, leaving the room stunned. Yeah, I wish I would have done my homework and pulled that up, but, Las Vegas police have closed the investigation. We talked about that, a couple of weeks ago, without charging Holmes. Because of the sensitive nature of the allegations, WGN TV has chosen not to name the woman or show her face. Because Las Vegas said that they said, because of a lot of places say what they say when they say things like this. So I'm going to ask you myself, why would you do that? The former Henyard aide said to Holmes. We don't really know what happened here, but any which way that this went down, the optics are not good. And if I am lying, all these people right here, all the cameras here, all these people, tell them I'm lying then. Is that why you never said anything? Is that why you disappeared as soon as this came out? Is that why? I'm supposed to be scared of you. Oh, yeah. I mean, all good questions. And I think I've thought about this a lot. The only reasonable explanation I can come up with is it came down to you had 2 people that were in Vegas, 2 people that are adults. Maybe there was some heavy drinking going on. I don't know. and the police were like, okay, it does appear that, you know, some type of sex act happened, and maybe it was consensual, maybe it wasn't consensual. They don't have enough proof to be able to file charges, is the bottom line. So we don't know what happens, but any which way it went down, the optics are not good for Andrew Holmes, and I believe he should have stepped down. That would have been the right thing, because it leaves a bad mark on the administration having somebody like that still, you know, roaming around doing their thing. And, you know, maybe it's not a case of sexual assault, but it's a case of really bad optics. And from that standpoint, I think Andrew Holmes should have stepped down. But, you know, this is how it goes, right? He said, she said, cops can't determine. And another one of the things is that the woman who made the allegations, she waited until she got back home and kind of went from there. And I don't know what happened. And I feel horrible for her. You know, if that did happen the way she said it did, then not cool, right? I mean, what do you say? But we just don't know. It's one of those things where we'll probably never know. After the meeting, Holmes told WGN-TV that he wanted to respond, but attorneys advised him not to. That is, you know, guilty, not guilty, Andrew Holmes. That's what you do. You hunker down and you just, boop, you shut your mouth, because anything you say or do will be used against you in a court of law, and guaranteed. You know, everything gets, you know, thrown out on the media now, right? Everything gets tossed out there. So you've got a written record of it. And so when that happens, you know, people, let's just see what Sean said. Let's hit the replay button. Boop. And, you know, and then the information pops up. Sean said this. Here it is. Clip, you know, exhibit number 47. 47, interesting number, right? Holmes also said nothing happened, adding that the woman was being misled and that he respects her. Okay. All right, moving on. Henyard, who announced in October that she would be running for re-election, also made a point to congratulate President-elect Donald Trump, which we saw. That is an interesting pivot and or spin that she is doing. Hey, you won. I'm on your team, right? And she said, just like Trump, she would win the election in a landslide. Just like Trump, I'm going to come in on a landslide, Henyard said. All right. I don't think any of us are probably holding our breath, though, that have, you know, looked into this one in depth. I don't think that's going to happen. And that's where that's where we come up with, wow, delusional. I don't think you're winning. I think Jason House, clean house 2025. That's a reasonable decision. And folks in Dolton, if Tiffany Henyard, if you guys elect Tiffany Henyard, that's on you. That's on you. You deserve everything you get and are getting if you make that decision again, because, you know what, me once, twice, that's on you, right? Once again, Henyard also promised a town hall meeting to answer questions, but didn't say when it would happen. Now, what I would say there is that how many town hall meetings have we already had where Tiffany Henyard just unloads? She just unloads on, you know, anybody that's listening and on video, but doesn't allow the other side, when asked questions, doesn't provide any proof or any backup for anything. She just spits out her version of the truth and nothing happens. Just nothing happens, right? I mean, that's a continual deal. All right. This is the right one. Let's watch a little NBC here.
Dolton at the village board meeting tonight. Embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard spoke out after public comments addressing respect in the meeting.
You have to give respect in order to get it. A lot of you come to this mic talking about nothing. And when I say nothing, you're talking about Tiffany Henyard. So that means that you really are fans of mine, and I appreciate that. Because normally you will come up here and you will talk about the business as it relates to our village. But not one of you talk about any business that it relates to our village.
Last month, Henyard announced she's running for another term as mayor of Dolton. The FBI is currently conducting an investigation into the handling of Dolton village finances.
Payne's latest return.
I love it when they just finish off with, and the FBI is doing a little bit of an investigation. Just a little bit of an investigation. Now, this article kind of breaks down. Each of these big networks pick a different angle. And NBC is picking, this is NBC, right? Or is this ABC? Anyway, this is CBS. They picked the respect angle. Here is the respect angle. Fireworks. Sorry, got to kill the audio there. Fireworks erupted at a village board meeting in South Suburban Dolton Wednesday night. Embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard spoke out after public comments addressing respect at the meeting. RESPCT, right? You have to give a respect in order to get it, Henyard said. Okay, you have to give respect in order to get it. Now, I think a lot of folks in Dolton and in Thornton Township would say Tiffany Henyard is not respecting what they're saying. I think that is, straight up word, right? A lot of you come to me, and we heard her talking. A lot of you come to me to this mic talking about nothing. Well, that's the problem. So you literally you have to give respect in order to get it. And then she disrespects them by saying, hey, you're coming up to the mic talking about nothing. No, they're not. They're saying, hey, you need to step down. Hey, you need to provide proof for all these expenses. You need to come up with something that's reasonable, and you're not doing it. You need to work with us and approve these bills. You need to work with us and approve, the way that they're supposed to, where everybody votes and agrees on who's going to be the village administrator, who's going to be the village attorney, who's going to be the chief of police. They've just been, going back and forth on a whole bunch of ridiculousness, and nothing's happening. So when she says that the village constituents are talking about nothing, that's just a total dig. That is wildly disrespectful. And when I say nothing, you're talking about Tiffany Henyard. Well, the reason they're talking about you, Tiffany Henyard, is because you're doing stuff that's out of line, that doesn't get business taken care of. And everybody can see it. We're all like, yeah, this is weird. And that's why there's so much, media attention on you. It's not because you're clickbait. Clickbait is literally when you put something on your title and your thumbnail that doesn't relate to the video, and you get people to click through. A good example of that would be, a girl in a stacked girl in a bikini, and then the rest of your video is about you, fixing your 72 Monte Carlo. You know what I mean? Where's the girl in the bikini? Oh, she's not here. That was clickbait. But with Tiffany Henyard, all we got to do is say, hey, the village has run out of money. It can't afford paper. It can't afford toner. And you're saying you're going to win in a landslide like Trump. I mean, that's straight up. That's the truth. That is not clickbait. That is just, here's reality. So that means you really are fans of mine. No. And one of the reasons I cover Tiffany Henyard is because it's so different than the ridiculousness going on here in Seattle, Washington. I mean, we got problems here, but we got nothing like this. I mean, this is like, oh, this is new. And it helps my channel. You guys come here. We got a couple hundred people on a live stream here. I do well every time I talk about Tiffany Henyard because she's entertaining. Tiffany, thank you for your entertainment. Now, as far as, should you be entertaining as mayor of a village? That's probably not high on your priorities of what should be getting done. And she goes on to say, and I appreciate that. And because normally you would come up here and talk about the business as it relates to our village, but none of you talks about any business that relates to our village. No, they are talking about business as relates to the village. It's as it relates to you not getting business done in the village. So big difference. That's where we've got this delusional disconnect, right? No, the constituents are coming up and they're saying a lot of stuff, and they have been saying this stuff for months, going into years, right? Last month, Henyard announced she is running for another term as mayor of Dolton. Henyard has frequently clashed with the majority of the Dolton Village Board of Trustees. Several board members have accused her of financial mismanagement. The FBI is conducting an investigation at Dolton Village Hall, although they haven't elaborated on who is being investigated. Then we go in to talk about Lori Lightfoot. Found the village is more than $3.5 million in the hole. Lightfoot also raised questions about the village's use of credit card spending, saying receipts are rarely provided. They've probably got receipts there somewhere, right? Here's my prediction. I know you guys all want to see Tahoe Tiff without the Tahoes because Tahoes are going bye-bye. I know you all want to see her in prison. I know you all want to see her arrested. I don't think that's going to happen. I honestly don't. I think Tiffany Henyard has used some really poor judgment. Is there enough criminal activity to criminally prosecute her? That is the big question. And I'm just telling you, hey, if she's done something illegal, then she should have to face the consequences. From my standpoint, looking at all of this, she used some poor judgment. Will these be able to be explained away as expenses? That's the big question, right? Because folks always kind of want to say, there's all this money missing. No, the money isn't missing. It was spent. Now that means, hey, can you provide receipts, number one? And then number two, are they legit expenses? That's the question. That's the question. Using, company money, using village money for the 3 Tahoes. Well, she has the right to have public vehicles. Can she spin it to the point of I needed 3 big Tahoes that run $100,000 a pop or more? I know that one cost her $100 and something thousand. Was it 50? $150K? That's mind blowing. And this is a civil servant. She is literally using your taxpayers' dollars to pay for an extremely expensive lease because she didn't have to have that run by board approval. She went to I don't know if you ever watched the movie. What was the movie? It was Tom Cruise. And he did his little dance, Risky Business. There was Guido, the killer pimp. Well, Guido was basically a loan shark, right? He was a loan shark and charged ridiculously high interest on whatever he did. So Tiffany Henyard and co. went to Guido, the killer pimp, who was, loan shark type deal, because they didn't have to have board approval, because this is a hard money lender that charges you, right up the what, and that's how they make their money. Oh, yeah, we're not a normal lender. Therefore, we're going to hit you up on massive points up front. And that's, 5 points up front on $100,000 is $5,000. They get paid right up front. And then they carry an interest rate, 17, 18, 19, 20% on that lease. And that's how you go from a car being retail 100K up to boom, you put in all those costs and all that interest and you pay that over time and you're up to 150, 175, whatever it is. That's called classic financial mismanagement. But she's doing it on a village level, right? And that's just one example of, is it illegal? Well, let's let the FBI determine that. But that's where I'm saying, man, I don't know. Don't have enough information. Any which way, if the village is $3.5 million in the hole, there's some explaining to do, right? Lucy. I love Lucy. That's an old show. I'm probably making references to stuff you guys don't know, but we're just going to go with it. Illinois State Comptroller Susanna Mendoza also said Henyard's administration has refused to get an audit done. That's true. And then you've got the case of Tiff and her foundation, Tiffany Cares. That basically has been shut down and she can't raise money anymore. And there's questions on that. Did they use Thornton Township money to seed fund that foundation? Is that illegal? Those are all questions. Maybe Tiffany will get some folks to bring, the $10K in and she pays the township back. I don't know. Right now, deals are just being cut. Just like Diddy. Diddy's in jail. Diddy's got 100 and something lawsuits against him. Diddy's got the list. Diddy offloaded all that data, terabyte after terabyte after terabyte of all those folks that he had videoed doing crazy freak off stuff after they got a little GHB rub down at the freak off. And then all of a sudden, look what we got you doing. He offloaded terabytes of that information and he's got that, as he sits in jail. He's got all kinds of stuff on who knows who. So what's going to happen? That's all the question of the hour that we're looking in going, what's going to happen with Tiffany Henyard with the FBI? And I think a lot of people say, put her right in jail. All right. But you got to prove it first. And that's what I'm saying. As long as they are dragging this out, it makes me think, you know what? They're being extra careful and they're not going to prosecute her. And here's why. They don't have enough to prosecute her on. Bad judgment is bad judgment, and politicians do that all day long. Ethics violations all day long. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. But is it illegal? That's the big question, right? So they refuse to get an audit done or communicate with the state agency tasked with the job of watching over government spending. Okay? Terrible call. When the state calls and say, yeah, we need to audit you, you know what you say? When? What should I bring? How do you want to do this? Who do I need to have there? Because otherwise, anything else, if you're like, you want to do a state audit on me? Yeah, I don't think so. No, we're going to pass on that. No audit today. Thank you, though. Maybe check back in, I don't know, a year or two when I'm out of office. Maybe check back then. That's not how this works. When a state agency, drops in like that, it is not good. Dolton mayor makes temporary appointments of police and she's blocked. So this is the angle that Chicago Tribune is taking. Dolton mayor Tiffany Henyard on Wednesday pushed through temporary 30-day appointments of a police chief and other positions, including an executive assistant. That is the village administrator, after trustees voted against approving the picks. Henyard said that she needs people in place to manage village operations after trustees turned down her naming of Ronnie Bird Sr. as police chief. As mayor, I'm entitled to the appointment. All right. Is she? Is she? I think a judge has said no. A judge has said, hey, you got to have, you got to be at a meeting that doesn't violate the Open Meetings Act. And that was the Illinois Attorney General. And then you got to have a quorum at the meeting, meaning it's a legit meeting. You can't just sit there and appoint them. You can't just make stuff up. I'm entitled to the appointment. Legally, I don't believe she is. And I think a judge has already stated that. So somebody says she has a nail appointment. Try later. Landslide, Tiff more like a shift slide. Yeah. Or no, an S slide, Yeah, I mean, all of these things are true, right? We're just watching the train wreck in slow motion. When I was a kid, I'm doing some old man stuff today. When I was a kid, ABC Sports used to have Wide World of Sports. And all it was, and it was the most epic thing, this is back in the 70s, it was on Saturday, and all it was sports players, and they slowed down this amazing footage into these super slow motion catches, where you'd see the guy bobble the ball 10 times and then he'd get, tackled in the end zone and he caught it. But it was all just super slow mo because we hadn't in the 70s. We just didn't have the kind of stuff that you guys have where you have on your TikTok. Oh, yeah, that's great. And you can see something that happens like that broken down into a 15-second TikTok. Well, we're watching a slow motion TikTok of Tiffany Henyard. Unfortunately, it involves the entire village of Dolton and then secondarily the township of Thornton. That's why so many people are paying attention. Not clickbait. So Henyard said she was also temporarily naming Angela Lockett as village attorney, Michael Smith as executive assistant, and McSteven Max Solomon as special counsel. Now, in the live stream chat, I was seeing that you guys were saying that those people sitting next to her, let's see if I can, no, I'm not going to risk doing that. But there was a dude in a suit off to Tiffany Henyard's right, and then there was a female off to the left, Tiffany Henyard's left. And is that right? Maybe the other way around. Flip the other way around. Those were attorneys. Those are new attorneys. Are those new attorneys that she's brought in? And folks in the live chat were saying, yeah, not good. Those are not good folks. How many attorneys does Tiff have on the payroll right now? How many attorneys? And what's happening with the eviction process? I find that one fascinating because I'm a real estate guy. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, why did the landlord just dropped the bomb on her after 1 month being behind. And then Tiffany Henyard has changed the locks and the garage door code, and the home is vacant. Tiff has moved on. Tiff and her Tahoes, which she no longer has, have moved on. Solomon represents Henyard in a lawsuit that she filed against trustees over where village board meetings should be. Okay. So that's that's Stephen Max Solomon. He is also identified as her attorney in an eviction case involved. Oh, okay. All right. Identified as the eviction case as mayor and a Thornton Township employee. Henyard was sued by some village trustees in early September. How many lawsuits does she have? 40? Something like that. I know it's way over 30. I have watched her. You've watched her too in the last couple of months get served at least twice, right? And one of them, she's like, oh yeah, I get served all the time. It's I guess you guys need clickbait. You guys need that clickbait. No, we're just watching you get served by Max, the super server, or whatever he goes by. Henyard didn't abide by proper procedure when she made the appointments, and that the appointments were invalid. That's a lawsuit in September that she's fighting off. Wilson denied a motion by Henyard October 24th to alter that temporary restraining order to allow the appointment Burge and Lockett, with the matter in court again today. Is this the 7th? Yeah. Okay. So I was seeing on the live chat that there was a hearing today. So that's what that hearing is about. Okay. And if you responded on the live chat, sorry, got to look here. My 56-year-old mind, it doesn't track as well as it used to. I used to be able to do like 3 or 4 things at once, but now I'm down to a couple, and I'm trying not to, have multiple layers of audio play during the live stream. Henyard's appointment of Smith in September was in a village administrator, but at Wednesday's meeting, she said she was naming him executive assistant. Okay, so you were going to, admin the village, but now you're just going to work for me? I don't think Tiffany Henyard has any credibility left whatsoever. Not an ounce. Not an ounce. After all the shenanigans she has pulled, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Keith Freeman, under indictment for bankruptcy fraud as village administrator, and Judge Wilson also blocked Henyard's move to replace him. It was unclear whether the job of executive assistant has different duties than that of village administrator. When you are so knee deep in just lawsuits and nonsense, no wonder they can't get anything done, right? I mean, it's absolutely shameful that this is, how it goes down. So Jason House, trustees Kiana Belcher, Tammy Brown, and Brittany Norwood. That is the alliance that is basically kind of rising up and trying to run Dolton. They've battled with Henyard for months, accusing her of spending beyond Dolton's means and turning what had been a budget surplus into a multi-million-dollar deficit. All right, let's talk about that for 1 second. You've got a massive deficit in Dolton. You've got a massive surplus in the township of Thornton. Now, that's because I believe you have incredibly different cash flows in and out of Township of Thornton. Has 17 villages, meaning they got a lot of money piling through. The village of Dolton only has one income stream, and that's the residents of Dolton and their taxes that come in, and they kick in about $2 million a month, $24 million a year. Those are rough numbers. And so if you spend a whole bunch of money and then on top of that, you don't have the revenue come in because you are doing things like requiring an attorney for people to set up a business. If you are restricting so hard the development of business, you're not going to have people coming into Dolton saying, hey, I want to buy a building. I want to get a business going, because you've already basically said, if you're not supporting me, you're not going to do business here. And what business owner in the right mind that's just trying to make a profit and stay open is going to come to a village like Dolton with a dictator in place? And, unless they're just completely bending the knee to Tiffany Henyard, not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's like Gavin Newsom, governor of California, just restricting business, restricting the refineries. Guess what happens when you restrict the refineries? They take their business elsewhere and say, bye-bye. And now you've got less oil to be refined. And what happens when you have less gasoline in your state? The price goes up. What happens when you have less business being developed in your village? You've got less income, less taxes coming in. And you end up with a $3.5 million deficit. Something along those lines. I think that's what's happening. You don't have authority to do anything, Tiffany Henyard told trustees Wednesday. They have no authority over my office. That might be true, but they do have the authority to do things when they vote on it and they've got a majority vote. That's how this works. So saying you've got no authority, you guys have crippled the village and I am here to fix it, Henyard said. This is when that is delusional. That is straight up nonsense. Nonsense. And those of you in the village of Dolton who think that the super mayor can do no wrong, it's not Tiffany Henyard crippling the village. It is Tiffany Henyard crippling the village. Sorry, I just said that wrong. And the village members they're trying to get things up and running. They've got Bert Odelson in court damn near every single day, just trying to do the daily operations of keeping the lights on. And that means, that's a weird reference to utility bills. Utility bills ain't being paid because when you don't have copy paper or toner for your copy or printers or whatever, bills ain't being paid. Lights are not on. They get cut off by the utility, right? Somebody made the comment that Tiffany Henyard never lived in that home. And, that is interesting. When I look at all the footage on that home, it looks like that home. I'm a real estate guy, so inspected homes for 35 years, right? Looked at homes all day long. When I looked at that home, it looked like it had been vacant for a little bit. I don't know. So is that a story? I mean, why would they have paid rent to that landlord for that long? They've had a lease there for a while, right? I mean, inquiring minds want to know. Let me know. Wednesday's meeting was held at Dalton Park District's Lester Long Field House. And it was the first time in several weeks the mayor and all 6 trustees were together for a board meeting. That's the big story, right? Is that they actually had a board meeting. I mean, that should be, that's not much in the way of clickbait. It's not the girl in the bikini. It's not sexy at all. But that is the story. That's the story. Dalton had a meeting. Exciting, right? Hey, nice job, guys. Well done, village. Hey, 2 thumbs up. We're looking over from Seattle going, you had a meeting. You had a quorum. Meaning you had the super mayor and you had enough village trustees to actually get a meeting done. Henyard entered about 30 minutes after the scheduled start time. What is up with Tiffany Henyard and her not being able to be on time? Is this a control thing? What's she so busy doing? She's clearly not doing village work, right? She comes in 30 minutes late. What's that about? I mean, back in my day, again, another old man reference. Today is my birthday. So I'm going through a whole bunch of just, you're getting old. I'm 56. When I was a kid, I went to a ton of Guns N' Roses concerts, and you went to a Guns N' Roses concert because you didn't know what time Axl Rose would show up. Maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's 3 hours late, but when they showed up, it was game on. It was wild. Axl Rose back in the day with Slash, Duff McKagan, and Steven Adler, the drummer. It was just, what's going on here, folks? Different sound that we hadn't heard, but control. That was all about control. Axl was going to go on stage whenever he damn well felt like it. And it seems like Tiffany Henyard does the same thing. She entered about 30 minutes after the scheduled start time. Who does that? Everybody else seems to be able to get their ass in time there, right? They're there. So with Lockett taking a seat to her right and Solomon sitting to her left. Okay, so those were attorneys. The mayor would from time to time consult with Solomon on one issue or another, such as the appointments. Birch took a seat in the audience. I'm going to sit down. You know who I love? I love that dude. Big, tall, white guy, nice suit, who just looks like, oh, I wish I could be anywhere other than here. You know who I'm talking about? I mean, the guy's face just looks like, or he'll look down and I'm like, what is he thinking about? What is that man thinking about? Because he sits there like for hours, just like, I went through law school for this. I have a law degree and here's what I'm doing. All right. 15 minutes has gone by. I've made $122. That's what he's thinking, right? There's one more article here. What was this one? Beleaguered Dolton mayor preaches respect. Respect, R-E-S-P-C-T. Yeah. We're not going to go into this one, but because we've already basically talked about it. It was the first time in months that Henyard and the entire board took part in a meeting. She's had frequent clashes with trustees. There's a good piece, a good radio piece here, news radio on demand. And anytime I hear Bert Olderson on WGN radio, I pay attention because I get as much information from him there as I do from anywhere. So, I'm a Seattle guy and I take little bits from not only you guys on the live stream. And when I'm pointing here, I'm pointing to an iPad that's got all the comments going on. So I appreciate all the information because I'm sitting here in Seattle, West Coast, not best coast. Don't even get me started there, but all the action's happening in Chicago. And so I appreciate everybody who gives me feeds and gives me tips of, hey, looks like the house is vacant for a long time. You guys are boots on the ground, and I appreciate that. And the other YouTubers who do the same. That's why I try and be respectful and say, hey, give Critical Smoker a subscribe. Give, Media Chicago a subscribe. Give Hannibal is Hungry a subscribe. All those folks, they deserve work because they're doing it as well. All right, that's it from me on today's live stream. I'll be back next Tuesday. We'll do some stuff. And I'm still releasing 2 podcasts a day. That's what we're doing here on News for Reasonable People. We are going to come out with a line of merch, and it's going to be Make America Reasonable Again. Or maybe just Make America Reasonable. Is that reasonable? I think so. It's going to be fun. It's funny. And it's a play on Trump's deal. And so many people are like, you can't really wear that MAGA hat. You get killed, especially here in Seattle, maybe in Chicago too. Although Juicy Smollett, he did say it's MAGA country in Chicago, right? I don't think so, Juicy. All right. That's it for me. I hope you guys have a great Thursday. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.